The story that would define Bradlee's career began 1 year later. Burglars working for President Richard Nixon's re-election campaign were found inside Democratic National Headquarters at the Watergate Hotel. The break-in was part of a wider program of political sabotage. Washington Post reporters Bob Woodward and Bernstein exposed the scandal that led to Nixon's resignation. They join us now from Washington. Good morning.
Morning, Charlie.
Just remember, Ben, for us, both of you, in terms of what was, for you, the essence of the man.
We just saw it. You saw everything in that video. You saw the wonderful command, the use of language, the way he carried himself, his love for the profession, and his understanding that it's all about the story. And he wanted to take this institution, which he took over, was kind of moribund, and he turned it into a great, great institution.
Bob?
Yeah, well, he was I mean, as you said, really a lovely, lovely person. And it was always our friend. But he was the guy who would sit down with us and say, do you really have this story? What did people say? He had this ability to listen to the White House spokesman, who in the Nixon case was Ron Ziegler. But he said, you know, wait a minute, what really happened? Go find the people who handled the money, the bookkeeper, the treasurer of the Nixon re-election campaign. And he would guide us through that step by step. And then he was the one who would say, okay, it's ready. Let's go with this story.
What did Sally add to his life?
Totally different life once he married Sally Quinn. She changed his clothes. That was the first thing, and he became one of the best dressed men you've ever seen, with his Turnbull and Astor shirts. Bradlee had an incredible elan. He had it before Sally, but after Sally, it took on new polish. It took on a joy de vivre that was visible and palpable. And that was Bradlee. He lived a wonderful life, and never a moment when he wasn't looking forward. But he also looked at it from the level of a reporter, which he had been a young reporter, and everything he learned when he was a young reporter is what he preached and how he led his troops. He would say all the time, I can't be there to get the story. You get the effing story, and it better be right.
And Bob and Carl, talking about young reporters, we keep hearing rookie reporters. How old were you at that time? And take us behind the scenes on how tough he was on the two of you when you were on the verge of covering a game-changing, history-making story. How old were you two back then?
Well, 29 and 30. I'd been
28 and 29, actually.
Okay. Okay. Let's. I think sometimes we felt like we were 11 and 12.
Well, that's more like it.
And you know, it was all about the detail. It was all about the facts. Last night, after he passed away, Carl and I went over to Sally Quinn, his now widow's house, and we sat there with the family members for hours telling stories about his energy, the way he impacted with everyone. When in the newsroom, when we were working on the story, but at all time he had this glass office so you could see what was going on and who was in there. And then he would get out and there would be 100 pair of eyes in the newsroom following him around. Where's he going? What's the action? And if two people were sitting around or talking or something, he'd come up and say, what's happening? And there was that sense of, you know, we're not digging deep enough. Yeah. There's a mystery out there. Go get it.
I heard he always wanted to be first, but never wanted to be wrong.
That's right. And there were numerous times when he would say to us, we'd give him the story, and it'd be a hell of a story, Woodward and I would think, and he'd say, boys, you ain't got it yet. Go out there and get another source.
You know, the Washington Post is just a beautiful read today. I mean, it's just wonderful. And Robert Kaiser's tribute to Ben is just incredible. And I keep thinking as I read it, you know, that Ben wanted, especially during Watergate, a paper that had impact. And he talked about having a real tube ripper of a story as opposed to a mego, a story that makes your eyes glaze over. That was the acronym. Think about that. What are the stories today that are real tube rippers? The idea that you wanted to pull the newspaper out of the mailbox because you couldn't wait to find out what's in the news.
But there are all of these things, and Carl and I talk about this all the time. You really step back, and we don't know enough about what's going on. That the message managers in the government are really skillful. It is a new era of impatience and speed. And with Ben, it was always kind of slow down, go talk to people. Was that person a witness? Does that person have an axe to grind? It was the granularity of the reporting that he made sure made it into the paper. And sometimes we did make mistakes. And he was really almost kind about the time we made mistakes and said, okay, let's move on.
He certainly set a standard for so many of us. Thank you both for joining us. We're really excited you were going to be here this morning. Thank you, Bob and Carl.
Thank you.